Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I am your host, Ricky Camilleri. You love our next guest as Scarlet Witch in the Avengers movies, but in her new show, Sorry for Your Loss, which premieres on Facebook Watch September 18th, you get to see a stripped-down, raw version of Elizabeth Olsen. She portrays a woman struggling to recover after the death of her husband. Let's take a look.
We put a dollar amount on death. Like, how is that even a thing with the price tag?
This is our home.
This is our home.
This is our home. This is where we're supposed to live. This is where we're supposed to live.
Matt was the glue that held us together.
I hate how in the beginning everyone wants to send you flowers and they stop calling and writing, doing nice things for you because they're over it and they expect you to be over it.
You think you knew him, but you really didn't know him as well as you thought.
Do you know your husband's passcode to his phone?
Doesn't everyone? And otherwise, I'd wonder who he was texting that he didn't want me to see.
My sister's in free fall.
I just want to know things about him that I didn't get to know.
Nothing makes me happy.
Right now, but think about a year from now, 2 years from now.
Matt was my favorite person, and now I'm just mad all the time. You have to show up for yourself.
Whatever you need to feel, you get to feel it.
Put your hands together for Elizabeth Olsen. Hey,
Hi.
thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
Congratulations on Sorry for Your Loss. This is the kind of show that only, I think, a new network would really have the bravery to take a chance on. It's a 10-episode, right? 10-episode
Yes.
show about grief,
Yes.
which is not something that I think a lot of people would take meetings for because they wouldn't really take the chance on something like that. And it's important that they do because this is incredible.
Thank you.
It gives everybody a chance to tell a beautiful story and deliver great performances, and we have great directors involved.
Yeah, we
so
have really great directors.
how did you get involved? How did this start for you?
I got involved 3 years ago. 3 years ago, summer, and I read the pilot with like the other stack of things, and
Is your stack on a regular basis?
it's usually just like 2 or 3 a week, and that's if I'm also not working because I have a hard time reading while working at the same time. It's hard to honestly have a response to something while you're filming something else.
You're also consistently reading what you're filming.
Yeah, and
trying
focused
to,
in a totally different way than like, trying to access some other gut reaction to something. But so I read it. It was not a 30-minute show, I believe, when I read it. I think it was more like 50 pages. And I just fell in love with this woman, and I was going through a transition in my life that didn't have anything to do with death, but had to do with a life, like kind of a big life change. And
which in a way, it's not as heavy as death, but it is loss. I mean, big life changes do have loss in them because you are
Yes.
leaving things behind. And,
yes,
Yeah.
and you change your life around a bit, and you feel a little groundless. And so I could relate in a simple way on that level. And then I started to think about shows that dealt with grief, and at that time, there really wasn't any. And they asked if I wanted to be, Robin Schwartz, our EP from Big Beach, asked me if I wanted to be involved as a producer as well as an actor. And I entertained that idea, and I met with Kit, and we started putting a different team together when we went through all the pitching, and I was in the room, and it was largely Kit and I chatting the whole time and pitching to all the different places that you'd imagine. Facebook wasn't one of them at that time. And we developed it somewhere else, moved on, and got it back out there again because it felt like those people weren't going to make it. And we moved, and Facebook really wanted it. And that was a weird thing to me because I didn't even know that they were streaming. And from there, somehow I got convinced, and I convinced James, and James and I together were like, okay, then let's do this.
James Ponsel being
Ponsel,
the
yes.
director, primary director of the episodes.
Yes, an executive producer. And he said, I will direct as few or as many as you want me to. I think it's a good idea to get as many awesome female directors on it, and other directors, just for different perspectives, and it would be a unique experience. He was even saying, almost like as a coach for me, it was like, it'd be a unique experience for you to try out different directors for like 1 week at a time. And I was like, that's a cool way to think about it. And so we did it with Facebook, and we started pre-production in January, and they were like, we're going in March. And so all of a sudden we needed a writer's room, we needed a crew, we needed a cast, and we had like 5 to 6 weeks, it felt like, to do it.
When did it shift from an hour to 30
30?
minutes?
It shifted. I actually can't remember if it was with if we shifted it that way to the other company that we were working, or the network we were working with before, Facebook. And then I think we stuck with it. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened.
Because I have to say, one thing that I love about the show, outside of all of the talent involved in it, is that it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I've been saying for a long time that I would love to see a 30-minute drama. I know that we have comedy dramas and
Yes.
dramedies, but a straight 30-minute drama, given just the way that our brains work and what it's like to stream things.
Especially if you're streaming it on Facebook, I'm sure your brain can get caught up with like other things happening at the same time. But yeah, every episode's like about 25 minutes, I would say.
Well, it also seems so often that we're getting so much television right now, both on the regular networks and on streaming, that a lot of the ideas are focused around an individual person or what seems like one story, and they don't really stretch well over the course of a 1 hour long
Right.
episode. Because an hour long show is for something like Mad Men or The Sopranos, or it's a whole world
Yes.
that you need to tell a story. And
Ensemble.
this fits so well for a 30-minute show.
Yeah, I love it that way. I feel like it's a good way to keep the pace. I think it's also, it makes us not lull as well. And because it is a drama, it's about grief, it's about loss. There are things that will make you feel sad, but there are also moments, I hope, that was the goal, of levity and humor. And every episode kind of shifts tone a bit. The third one's far funnier than 1 or 2. 1 even has some humor. 6 is like a manic farce. And so it just kind of jumps. 9 is a bottle episode that exists on its own. So it kind of feels like a dream or a fantasy or something. So they all jump around in tone, which is also a new thing for me.
How involved in the writer's room were you as a producer?
I wasn't in the room. I was someone who, with early drafts, I would be very vocal. At the same time, we were 6 EPs, 4 of them have creative titles, so it was a lot of conversations from different directions. So I couldn't say that I had very much control with story, except for I'm someone who, any director who has worked with me knows that I'm a very opinionated person on a film set. And so that got to transition into television. But the odd thing about doing television and being a producer and an actor is that you're focused on what you have to do that day, but you're also giving notes from an earlier edit from a different episode while giving notes from the upcoming episodes. And that was just a lot of juggling. Every weekend I was doing rewrites for myself, at least, if not other characters or suggestions. And that's just like how I
bet you
work.
loved it, though. I bet you loved it.
I did. I loved the obsessive amount of time. It was like 4 months of not being able to focus on anything else. I ended up doing Avengers press during the time of shooting. I would go to London for a weekend and come back to filming. And that was kind of nuts for those couple weeks when we were doing press for that. But it was such a focused amount of time. And I'm still learning how to unwind from it because we wrap post, I guess now it's 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
I feel like most people don't get into acting. I shouldn't generalize this way, but based off of the first movies that you were really in, you don't get into acting because you're not interested in storytelling.
Yeah.
You have things to say about storytelling. So when you've been acting for so long, primarily as just an actor,
Yeah.
not to trivialize what just an actor or
Right.
anything like that, and you get to suddenly have real say over where the story goes and how the story is told.
Yes.
It's not necessarily that you love having power, but you get to really exercise, I feel like, all of those tools that you've been putting inside your box for so long and haven't really been able to fully utilize.
Yeah, I think the thing that you also learn being on set with other actors who, because I've been lucky to work with people who are very high up in their careers and are veterans, and you get to see how different people choose to work with the crew. Some choose to be a leader, some choose to be shy, and with television having rotating directors and having different written by episodes, obviously our creator is our creator, Kit Steinkellner. So she was there the majority of the time, but on the crew with all the guys and all the women, like I just felt like I got to be in the position of being one of them and a leader, and that just felt, that was the most rewarding feeling to me, because I want everyone to love their work day. I want people to enjoy themselves at work, even when it's hard. I want people to feel respected, and I want people to have a good time, and our crew did. And so when those days ended, I just felt like, well, at least we did that right, kind of thing.
Was that hard for you to maintain it all at the same time while you're sort of doing these very emotional scenes? Like, how do you prep for doing a scene where you're gonna have to cry and you're gonna have to break down, and you're also giving a cut on something or giving another cut, and a crew member comes over and is like, hey, did you want a little bit of a something?
No, it all felt really like it flowed well. I remember there was one episode where our DP, Javi, is incredible, and he has so much personality. And I remember at one point, it was later in the season, I was just like, Javi, it was something about how long he was taking with the lighting and how I needed more time with this scene. And I just like gave a little sassy like Javi sentence back, and he did it back to me. And it's all fun and funny, because at that point you're family. And if you're having like those kinds of back and forths, it's because you're comfortable and you respect one another enough to be like, you gotta hurry up, kind of thing. Or he would want to redo something because a lamp wasn't on. And I was like, no, I like that take. We've done 3 takes without the lamp. The lamp is staying off, and you're just gonna like have to deal with not loving your lighting. And just those kinds of conversations. And that's the stuff that ends up being fun in the moment. And we really had, being able to film in LA, we had such an incredible crew.
And you said that you shot pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, we did an episode a week.
Okay, that's
Normal.
fairly standard, I think.
Yeah, so it's like 7 pages, 6 pages a day, which is, I don't know. I was just doing Avengers before, and that's like a day.
A page a day?
Page a day.
Right.
Or like a second blimp of fighting a day or something.
Why is that? Is it, when you're shooting Avengers, is it necessary? I told you I wouldn't ask questions about it.
Yeah, I know, but I keep bringing it up.
This isn't about like what's gonna happen in the next
Yeah.
movie. This is like, when you're shooting it, does it feel like it's necessary to take that much time?
There's a lot of coordinating. So sometimes yes, not always. There's a lot of waiting, and usually when we're waiting, we're like in a tent, like talking to each other, so I don't really know what's going on. But it's just such a big operation, and with this show, it just felt like working on an indie where you are racing against the clock. And there's the weird thing though, with indies, you get the script, 2 hours or whatever it is ahead of time, and you get to carve out ideas or thoughts along the way of what you think the arc should be, and you have those conversations before. But we were talking about earlier, you don't get to do that with TV. You don't get to like sit around and have a conversation about what you're about to shoot. You just shoot it. And that's a different, because everything felt like there was so much to do all the time, it's almost like your spontaneity and your impulses just become the first thing. And that's exciting. And then also you end up doing a scene in an entire range of emotions, and you have no idea what they're gonna pick for the edit, but they'll just carve it out later, kind of thing. Wow. Yeah.
So it's all gut.
Yeah. And then with Ozza, though, we got to talk through, Azazel Jacobs was one of our directors, and he's incredible. He did The Lovers and Terry. He's a great director. A lot of
Mama's
Mozart.
Boy, I
people.
think, was a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And Dottie and M, which is a wonderful show he did.
yeah.
I think it was M and Dottie or M and.
Yeah.
Dolly and M, maybe?
Dolly and
M and
M.
Dolly?
Shoot.
Somebody IMDb Azazel Jacobs and then tell us.
Doll and M.
Doll and M,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. I knew there wasn't an E sound. But we got to meet.
Got
with,
it.
Yeah, I got to meet with him on a Sunday before working, and that was so nice. I was like, wow, we have done 8 episodes, and we haven't done this yet. Yeah.
So what was your biggest fear going into doing this?
Not knowing what the writers are going to write, and I think that's a safe fear to have. Because we had ideas of what was going to happen in a macro sense, but I don't know these. Like I was really letting Kit feel confident with the people that she was hiring because that's her department and those are the people that's going to be her team, and I put that faith in her, and you don't know what you're going to get. So that's a scary feeling from a micro control manager or control freak.
Was it, you're a control freak?
Yeah.
How long have you always been a control freak?
Yeah.
How does how does that come out?
Perfectionism, which isn't real.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah.
Just let me do it again. Let me do it again. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. No, I got something else.
Yeah, it's the scenes where I would obsess the most and I felt I had no idea what I was doing and it was so bad. I would watch when we would be in like the editing room and I would just be like, it was fine. Like like it's fine. What was so hard to understand that you could just move on from that? But
Do you remember all the people standing around while you were trying to get it perfect going, come on,
they're being like,
this guy-"
no, you really, I'm pretty sure we can move on, Lizzie. I'm like, no, it's not right. I'm not doing anything good.
And do you ever find that the scenes that you thought on the day were perfect or you had really nailed them, you see in the editing room like, oh,
I don't think I've ever walked by bed being like, that was perfect. But I do feel capable. Like I don't feel like I'm lost ever. I do feel like a capable person in my job.
Did you find, since you're now giving notes on edits, I would imagine as well as an EP, did you find that you were able to distance yourself or remove yourself from watching?
Yeah, I love
yourself?
that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would watch it and I'd be like, why did Darren or Hilda pick that take? And I would go back to dailies and I'd be like, no, I think that's better. And then I would give them a couple suggestions. And usually there was a reason because they couldn't cut it with a different angle. And so then we would just have to rearrange. If I really wanted them to use a certain shot, they would just have to rearrange how we would get into the other coverage, which sometimes we were able to do and sometimes we weren't. But it was really nice to get to also carve your own performance and have a say in that. And then other things are just like, I never got this scene right, whatever.
Well, it's kind of fun to cut the hell out of yourself,
It's
too.
incredible.
To just sit there and be like, bad, and
Yeah.
like really be vicious with yourself. There's something kind of liberating about like doing that.
Yeah, because I am a perfectionist, but I'm not precious about what I like. Even if I be like, God, it looks like the shine on my face is just so crazy, but like that is the best take. Maybe they can fix it in color correction.
There's nothing there's nothing more liberating than being the least precious with things that have to do with you.
Yeah, it's a
You
good
know?
feeling. Yeah, I agree. I
proves-
have them in jeans and a white shirt and a button up right now.
And it proves things to your collaborators as well if you're the person that's in front of the camera.
Yeah, and I do. Well, the funny thing is as an actor, you are told all day long notes. You are given notes all day long. It's like that is what your job is every day. Try this, do that. I don't like when you do this, but I like when you do that. Or it's every day, all day. So when people have a hard time receiving notes, you're just kind of like, but that's what I gotta do all the time. It's not that hard. It's not a big deal. No one's upset.
But when you give notes and people are like, take it personally.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, but don't you give me notes all the time? So it's kind of that funny. I don't know. It's a funny thing because I grew up playing team sports. I grew up being a dancer also, and you just continue. You should never be satisfied with something. You should always continue to grow, and maybe that's really unhealthy. But the idea of wanting to be better than your last score, being better than what you did the last time, is something that I just love. Yeah. And so notes to me are incredible. Even if I don't agree with them, at least we're going to have a conversation about why.
At least you're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a hard time stopping? in the sense where it's like, okay, this episode's done. We're done.
I don't think so. I think we had locked picture.
You had a time crunch.
Yeah, we had locked picture way before doing sound mixing. Then you do that twice, you know. So you're really used to the cut at that point. I've seen every episode so many times of this show, and that's a weird feeling. Like when to be at a premiere and we were at TIFF and watching something, I know the cadence of every single line in the entire episode. Like there's nothing fresh. It's a weird feeling.
It's hard to distance yourself. Or it's hard to, at that point, it's hard to know what's good.
Yes.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
just kind of like, you tell me if it's good. I'd have
Yeah.
no idea anymore.
And what I think I already don't like, I'm just sitting there being like, well, I don't really like that, and it's still there. And like you're just like, ah.
I think this is the kind of performance where people are going to ask you, which I imagine is a dreaded question for actors,
Yeah.
of whether or not, what was it like living in this character? Did you take it home with you?
Yeah.
Was it something that you were able to sort of take on and take off when you were working?
I'm not sure because this whole experience was very full on in every aspect. So I feel like I was wrung really tight by the end of it. And it could have been a combination of you know, going through the emotions that you have to go through and also juggling lots of different things at once. But it was just nice to be tired. It was nice to be exhausted from work. It was nice to end and have this huge relief that it was over. But then you have this weird postpartum where you don't know what to do next. The reason I love acting so much, one of the reasons, is it's like the time in your day when you don't have the 90% recycled thoughts. All of a sudden you have to put the recycled thoughts somewhere else, and you just have to be focused and present on this active thing in front of you, whether it's the actor, whether it's the material, whether it's remembering when you're, you know, touching your hair in a scene, whatever it is, your brain is focused on so many other things. So then when you wrap, all those recycled thoughts come back in your head, and you're like, oh no, I hate myself in my life. What do I do now?
Healthy.
Yeah. So I like working.
That's why I think, I mean, I've never heard it put best why actors have a tendency, not have a tendency, but can get very fragile on set because you're consistently trying to remove so much to stay active and in the moment. And if you can't remove that stuff,
Yeah.
it's a very like limiting feeling, and it can be physical, I think, for actors as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I try and separate myself from my work as much as possible. I just feel like that's the healthiest thing. When you're talking about like communicating with other people on the crew and you're like doing something emotional, it's like whatever. Like everyone cries. I'm just trying to cry in these few minutes, and then we'll all chat about it. And just kind of compartmentalizing.
So is there a chance that having done this, you will move on to possibly directing yourself or producing something else?
I never thought I would ever say I would want to be a director. I truly thought that was something that I wouldn't want to do. And
Why
now,
is that?
And now it's just because it's a lot of pressure, I think. And I also felt like I haven't been working enough to do it yet, and I still believe that. But now I actually feel like it's something that I could possibly think about in the future, but it's not anything anytime soon where I'm like, I gotta find something to direct tomorrow. Like, it's like having a baby. Like, I think I should have a baby, but like, definitely not anytime soon. But I think I should create a child. I don't know.
One day that'll be an instinct that I have to do. Yeah.
And I feel the same with directing, except directing isn't like on a time limit of my body aging.
True. Yeah. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question? Right here.
I gotta say, Infinity War, that ending, I had no words for it.
Oh, cool.
As an aspiring actor myself, I'm always interested in what actors learn from other actors. So, what was the most important thing you learned from any actor you work with on any project that later influenced your career going forward?
I have a feeling there's a part of him that wants it to be one of the actors on the Avengers, but I don't know where I got that from.
I'm trying to think. There are a lot of people in different ways that I learned from, especially, like I did this movie called Red Lights that no one saw, and which is fine. And it was actually a really weird time in my life because I was experiencing panic attacks for the first time, and then but I didn't want anyone to know because I thought they would insure me or something.
You're an actor. You're on screen.
And so I kept having panic attacks while filming, but I didn't let anyone know. It was really weird. But Sigourney Weaver was in the film, Cillian Murphy, Robert De Niro, but Toby Jones, but like no one saw it. It's not fair. It's fine. But I don't want to offend anyone. But Sigourney, the way she communicated with everyone, I just by example, not giving advice, but just by example, I really loved it. I loved how she was very stern with what she would do and wouldn't do, but always respectful, and no one would ever be offended. Maybe scared of her because she's an intimidating woman, but she was never actually offensive to anyone. She was very elegant and very kind, but stern. And I really loved watching how she communicated. And I come from a family that that believes that no is a full sentence, and that's like one of our favorite quotes. And to see someone basically articulate that on a set in a really elegant way was something that I loved watching. And then in a different way, another actor that influenced me a lot was Tom Hiddleston, not because of Avengers, but because of I Saw the Light. He was someone who you really got to watch someone be so a part of a crew and be so grateful to everyone. He knew every single person's name on that crew, even ones that you have no reason to talk to because their job is doing something somewhere else. He wrote every single person a thank you card at the end of wrapping, every single person. And those kinds of things to me are really important. And I know that's not like acting skill, but I also think it's important on how you treat everyone around you while you're working. And I don't think that should ever be forgotten. And so I really admired Tom for doing that.
You kind of got the sense that he may be like that, the way that he sort of vaulted to stardom quite quickly. I mean, I know he was Loki and that was like a big thing, but oftentimes when someone is sort of given the chances that I think he was given as an actor, it's not just because of talent, it's because there are people saying, no, you have to work with him.
Yeah.
He can lead a crew.
Yeah.
He can be on camera all day and be good to everybody.
Yeah.
And he was sort of, very quickly, it felt like given those chances after people knew of him just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he's and he was also so much fun to work with.
Hank Williams,
Yeah, he played
right?
Hank Williams, yeah. And it was, we'd met actually doing a chemistry read for something that neither of us got. And I remember walking out and being like, that was a really fun audition. I felt like we were really with each other, and then we got to work with each other. And I'm really proud of the acting work in that film and everything about that film. I Saw the Light. I think it's a different kind of arc and story and editing. So I think that might have been why it didn't do as much as I think we all wished it would. But I think the work in it is pretty solid, and I really loved getting to work with Tom.
Next question.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I know the show's getting streamed on Facebook, but I was reading that the first 2 or 3 episodes were premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival.
4.
4? Wow,
about
okay.
that?
4.
There's a lot of
Which
time in a theater.
I think all 4, those first 4 will be on Facebook Watch on Tuesday, September 18th,
18th,
right?
yes.
Yeah, so they can check out those 4, and every following Tuesday there'll be 2
2,
added, I
yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Oh, wow, 4. So I was thinking it's a brave show, considering it's about loss and grief and kind of the etiquette around how people deal with each other during grief. Just wanted to know what the reaction was from the audience at the premiere, and what was their feedback in line with what you would expect for that kind of show?
It's so hard for people to be honest to your face. So I like reading things, even though people tell you not to read, but I do.
Your reviews?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow.
Because I like to think, because I'm not the thing creating the whole picture. I'm a piece of it that's trying to adjust it in certain ways. So if there are things that maybe I loved or I didn't love, I wanted to see if it's in line with the reviewers that I care about, not really anything. It's really kind of specific. And so I felt pretty aligned with that, and I do feel like we got some good thumbs up in that, and with a couple of those reviews that I've read. But the thing that was really special was getting to see something that we made for people's computers or televisions. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be computers, and someone even said phones, which terrifies me. To see it on a really beautiful screen was a really special experience because they are subtle performances. They're not. It's nice to get to see them in something so large, and you do hear sniffles in the crowd. And there's a lot more laugh. People were really with us with the laughing during the screening, which made me happy. But again, no one's going to really experience that for themselves. So it's kind of this weird false experience that no one's going to have at home. People are going to watch it alone. But when you're in a theater, there's something about hearing someone else laugh and feeling the permission that you can also laugh, and then it kind of grows together. But yeah, TV's weird. I mean, I've never been a part of it because I do think the way you see things is gonna affect how you feel or care. Like if I watch Game of Thrones on my phone, I don't know what I would think I would be watching. Like it's not meant for computer or phone. It's meant for a television, unless you have a nice computer. A nice big computer.
One more. Who's right here?
Hi. So
Hey.
I was wondering what advice you have for women who want to work in the film industry.
My advice for women is to do as much as possible that you can. I think women do, especially crew-related jobs, do have to have more experience oftentimes than men do. And I'm not saying that as like some sweeping, crazy thing, but I do feel like that is something that is true. And I would say be really confident in saying no. I do think like the power of saying no as a female is like the most important thing in any aspect of life. And the women we had on this set are like some of the best in their field, and they know it, and I love them for that. So it's